Peace, y'all. It's your man, Dave. You may have heard me alongside my brother Quest on the Marriage Ain't for Suckers program. We're still going strong, and now it's time to take it up a notch. This is the Grown and Married program with my co-host, my rib, the queen of my castle, the queen of my life, Simone Harris. We've been friends for almost 30 years and married for almost 20. So we know a thing or two about making marriage and relationships work if you're willing to make it work. So gather around, y'all. Share this with your spouses, your friends, your frenemies, and yes, even your enemies. And let's make marriages phenomenal together. Queen Simone, I know you're ready. I know you're set. So let's go. Yeah. My mic sounds nice. Check one. I'm not going to rap because I don't do that. My name is L. David Harris. I am your host, and this is the Grown and Married program. And I'm delighted to be able to share with you one more time, except it's not just me, it's we. I don't know if that's good grammar, but it doesn't matter. My wife, my only one good wife, Queen Simone, is riding right next to me as always. Hello, Simone.
Hello. Yes, she is. His one good wife.
Yes, she is.
Good up.
You know her?
Yes, I've known her for the past,
tell me about her. Tell me about her.
Well, I was told she's sweet.
Yes, true.
Yes, and I was told that she's pretty.
Who'll tell you that?
You.
You're right. Oh my goodness. Right again. Well, hey. Before this turns into another kind of program, I think we'll get underway. Thank you for joining us, y'all. And as you can tell, we do actually love one another. It's not a joke.
No, it's not
a joke. It's not a joke. But what we're going to do before we get started is ask you for a quick, big favor. I need you to log on to grownandmarried.com. That's grownandmarried.com. And go ahead and leave your questions. If you have any questions about relationships and marriage, we want to build phenomenal relationships together. And you can see where the program is being hosted. Many of the places, at least, the ones that are our favorites, you'll see them there. And we'd like for you, please, to pick one. I know you're listening to something now, but pick one that maybe you didn't know about before and leave an honest review and rating. If you're listening on Rising Hope Radio, I'd like for you to also subscribe with one of the other aggregators so you can leave the review just to help us out, because every review is a blessing in ways that, I don't have enough time to tell you now. But we need the program to grow. And the way is for you to share and leave honest reviews. And I did say share, so please also pick your favorite social media outlets and click the share button. And also, along with the link, grownandmarried.com, put that in your, in the comment section when you share. And that would help us a lot and help marriages. You have no idea what an impact clicking one little button called share can have on other people's relationships. Grownandmarried.com. Thank you. And I think I'll get off of that. And Simone and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. Our little guy is going into the 3rd grade.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yes. I'm still like, we just had him yesterday. That's what it feels like. We just had him yesterday.
Yeah.
And now he's going into grade 3 and he's just 7,
Yeah.
But I will say that I have seen a little bit of change in him over the summer.
Yeah. Empty nest. Oh, wait a minute.
minute.
It's not time yet.
I know you can't wait until he reaches a certain age, but, slow it down a little bit. Slow it down.
Yeah, I hear 16 is a nice age. I like that age. But
okay. Yeah.
I guess I'll have to wait like everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah.
I'm not ready.
Okay. Well, I guess it's hurry up and wait. And by the way, that's what we're talking about today, y'all. Can you imagine? We're talking about when baby comes home, how children change your marriage dynamic. When baby comes home, how children change the marriage dynamic.
Mercy.
This is where everybody sighs a collective sigh of relief.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'll tell you a little bit about our story, right? So we were married for 10 years before we conceived Josiah, right? And so we were already grown when we got married. We were not young, you know, wet behind the ear, married young couple, right? And then we waited 10 years. So we were grown, like double grown when he was conceived. And so by the time he's born, of course, Simone and I have taken care of, I don't know, between us, I can't even count how many children have we taken care of, right?
It was.
So now you have your own child.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you've heard part of the story with Simone sharing some of the complications in the pregnancy and, some of what happened at the hospital. Probably won't go too much into that today. But so now we're in the hospital for a week because of some of the complications. And now it's time to take baby home. And again, we're grown, double grown, taking care of whom knows how many children, And on top of that, Simone's like a professional in like the premier children's hospital of the United States, right? And when we get this little guy home, I remember distinctly putting the carrier down on the floor and this little face looking back at us. But I'm sure he can't see us very well at this moment. He's only a week old, And I said, now what?
I remember that.
Yeah.
It was so funny. We all came in. My mom came in. You closed the door, put him down, and he just stood there. Look at it. It was kind of cute, but scary at the same time because after you said it, there was like complete silence because the both of us were like, oh, we can't send this one home. Or we can't send him back to the hospital.
No, you don't take him back to your loved one. You don't take care of him for a week and then go back to your cousin's house and say, it was so fun being with my little whatever nephew, niece, right?
Right.
This one stays with you forever. Even if you say at some point they go out of the nest, but really and truly, they're like our responsibility. And we don't know when that ends really, because the age doesn't really determine when that ends. And I'm like, whoa, this is surreal.
Yeah, it was a big thing. And I don't know how many people went through that. But let me tell you, it was something else, especially when we were driving home. First of all, it was snowing that day. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my goodness, we have this little precious cargo in the back of the vehicle. Oh my goodness, that's our child. You know what I mean? So it was just on another level.
Yeah. And where he was born is like almost 100 miles away from where he was to live, right?
Yes.
So that's a long journey. After a week of being in the hospital, all of us, mommy included.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's home, little face, not fearful of babies, not concerned or confused about how to take care of a baby. Neither of us, had to really worry about those details, But I think the responsibility is what hit me. Everything about what it means to be a parent, father in my case.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be on all the time. You don't get a vacation. You don't punch a card or punch a clock at the end of the day and say, all right, I'm done being a father. I'm done being a mommy. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of hit me. And I was like, okay, I get it. This is really grown folks' business. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing too was, okay, this little body or little person is going to be dependent on you to eat, to be dressed. I mean, every minute of your time you're going to be spending thinking about this little person, this little human. And it's like, oh my goodness, And on top of that, I mean, I guess we had kind of help as far as feeding is concerned because of the complications I had. I couldn't nurse him fully at the time. So at least I was like, well, there is a bottle with milk, but I truly wanted to nurse him.
Right.
And so at that point I was like, oh my goodness, he's dependent on me to eat, to live, to
literally,
Yeah. So yeah, it can be unnerving. Is that the word?
Yeah, that's the word.
At times, and it's oh my goodness, I hope I'll be a great parent, or I hope I'll be safe with the child, or I hope I won't do anything,
Yeah. Well, one thing that immediately changes once the child, because, we talked about being parents before Josiah was outside the womb.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of people say you're soon to be parents, but if you don't parent the child while they are in the womb, you're late.
Yeah.
Let me just say that. But okay, considering that, now he's outside the womb. He's living in living color. Like we can see his actual skin and his face. We're not looking at like some 3D image where somebody probed with a Doppler and said, well, this is an X-ray looking into the dark place to see who this child is, right? Sonogram and 3D imaging and all this other stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So we're looking at him. We can feel his skin. We can hear him. We can smell him. And we already learned to love him.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're loving him in a more sort of tactile and cuddly and auditory and every other sense kind of way. Where before we had a lot of imagination along with those senses, but now it's like all of your senses flooded at the same time. And you don't have anybody on the inside of you trying to kick and come out, know. So love turns up. If you ask me, I don't know, if that changes for you, Simone, but it turned up for me.
Yeah, it was something new. It was like, at first I couldn't explain how it feels. And even now when I have friends who are pregnant and, they're expecting, I'm just like, it's just going to be on another level. It's something that you're just going to be like, whoa, I didn't know that I could love another person or another human being like this. And then you have that motherly instincts that just turn up to another level,
Yeah.
And then now you become that mother hen, and then you're like, okay, no, that love is my love. I love this child and it's my child. You know what I mean? Not saying that with the father, but that love is just like, oh my goodness, especially when they look up at you and they open their eyes and they're looking, trying to figure out, who are you?
Who are you?
Yeah. And then you're looking at them going, oh, sugar, you're so sweet. Oh, putus.
Oh boy. Yeah.
And then the baby's just like, I don't know who you are. I know your voice, but I don't know who you, because I can't see you.
Yeah. I guess I like you more than other people. That's why I cry when I'm not close to you. But give me some time. I guess I'll get used to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember saying when we were in the hospital, as soon as I saw his face, I said, oh boy, I am so glad I love Daddy, meaning Simone's dad, because this dude is going to wear Daddy's face like for the rest of his life. I'm going to have to keep looking at Daddy's face for the rest of his life. And it's interesting how genetics work, because you can see, bits and pieces of people all through the family circle. One person's going to say looks just like me. The other person's going to say looks like Simone, and then other relatives. And it's like, wow, unbelievable. And that, that can have an impact on the family, depending on the relationship you have with those you see when you look in your child's face, or you see their mannerisms or hear how they behave. So it's an interesting thought, no doubt.
But can I just say this?
Mm-hmm.
Josiah was looking dead smack like you.
Okay. Case in point. There you go.
Dead smack like you. Like I think the only thing. Let's see. What did he have for me now? Nope, not that. Nope, not that. No, he looked dead smack like you.
Cancel the paternity test.
Exactly.
I will not be on reality television with paternity tests and lie detector tests and trying to figure out what date was what, because I am the father.
Yes, you are.
No doubt. And I'm delighted. You know, it was a wonderful thing because this child was born out of love. And to see, you know, there are many ways to talk about the fruit of married couples' love, but I'm not sure there's much to be compared to pouring into a child, especially if the child, you know, like I say, reminds you of your spouse. Like I've always wanted to have a daughter that looks just like my wife. And now I know who my wife is. It's Simone. Now, every time I see a little girl, I sort of imagine, what if that was my daughter, and what if that daughter looked like Simone?
Oh,
you know?
and
that thing just drives me like crazy because I want to see that, you know.
Yay. It's okay.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
I have Josiah.
Yeah, we have Josiah, and you know, I ain't mad at it. I just, when I see him, I look at my face though. Like I see my own face all the time, like, right? But I'll tell you one thing though, that was a little bit strange to me because I wasn't prepared for it. I do have a niece. My eldest niece reminds me of me a lot, right? She's really grown now, but looking at Josiah at a certain point in his life, I don't know if it was like 2 or 3 months old. No. It was after he had gone back to work. So it's in the 4 to 6 month range. I'm looking at his face, but my brain is confused because I'm seeing myself, but I'm not looking in a mirror and my head is tiny and my body's tiny. And like, I'm drooling all over everything and I can't even hold up my head straight. Like it was the weirdest. I cannot explain it.
Right.
But I was seeing myself, but the feedback was odd because of everything I just said, you know. Strange, but that was invigorating too.
Yeah.
Well, a lot changes when these children come home besides what we've said, like practical stuff, like household duties.
Oh my.
As an example.
Yeah.
You know, now you have diapers or nappies or whatever you want to call them. And they are not in a little plastic box. They are now coming off of the child and they are, let's just say, altered. Their aroma is not like it was when you saw it on the store shelf. And the weight of those diapers, nappies, or whatever you want to call them, a lot different. And somebody's got to clean that up.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a simple thing like the first 10 times, but like we were like averse to diaper rash. And for me, it was like as soon as my man used his diaper in whatever way he used it, it had to come off and he had to get cleaned up. And so when you think about the number of times that you're just changing your child, that's an honor, and it's a new activity. Because who does that? Like, you don't do that in a normal day unless you have a child around.
Right.
Yeah, big thing. And if you leave your child like that, then there are these negative consequences. Like I said, like diaper rash, they can be irritable and worse. I mean, they can develop all kinds of skin conditions and worse if we don't do the basic thing. Like we feed them, we put them into something that can take care of their waste until they get old enough to use the facilities like we do. And I see where parents sometimes neglect that. And it seems simple, but you cannot overlook the need to change your child and change them as soon as you possibly can.
Right. And I think, like I always wondered why, you know, for some people, why they leave it on for a while. And obviously we know that there are, you know, challenges financially and cost and stuff like that. But there's still a way for you to ensure that your child does not have the diaper rash. You know, you can, and because if you even think about what some of these diapers are made from.
Yeah.
And some children may be allergic to, what they're made out of. So, just double check, make sure that, you have a nice balm or some kind of ointment, water soluble ointment that will help the child, that it will form a barrier between the child and the urine or whatever it is, so that, it doesn't irritate the child much.
All right, here comes another practical one. You remember, in our case, we'll just probably talk from our experience because we don't have a lot of time to work through hypotheticals. But okay, so we have not a bassinet, but let's just call it a bassinet, like in our room. And our bed is next to it. And the little guy, when he, at this stage in his life, he's sleeping in our room in his private sleeping thing.
Right.
And in the middle of the night, he's going,
oh boy. Oh gosh.
All through the night, he's, and it's not a bother. And I don't know how to make the sound right, but this dude was having like acid reflux.
Yeah.
As a little bitty baby.
Yes.
And now you have caring parents, loving parents who are not new to this, but now are emotionally attached to every time his little body retches and his voice makes the sound. And it's like, we really need to get between whatever that is that's causing him to feel that way and our little guy, because we don't want him to be so, uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was hard.
Yeah.
Especially for me, because, I was just like, oh my goodness. It's like, I can feel what he's going through,
Yeah.
And I just didn't want anything to happen because, after all, your baby is perfect. Your baby is that,
Right.
That's how every parent, they're like, oh, I have the perfect gift.
Right.
And now to see that your child is going through that. So, I'm glad that we took some necessary steps to help him naturally.
Yeah.
And that all worked out. And, you did some good research and found a product. And it was amazing. And I even told the doctor because, we didn't want to put him on any medication for the reflux. And when I showed her when we showed her what we were giving him, she was all for it. And that's what I loved about, the pediatrician. She was supportive to what we wanted to do for our child. And she supported the fact that we wanted to go the natural route to take care of it.
Yes.
And so that was helpful.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember, I was, for a while, I was what you call a stay-at-home dad. And then I transitioned to a work-from-home dad. I know that sounds like the same thing, but the perspective is different when you have work to do that's, the earning income kind of work. And then, the not earning income and only taking care of your child kind of responsibilities. And so what that did in both cases was it put me in a position where I had to adjust my thinking about what does my schedule look like. So, both of us were accustomed to going to bed at a certain time, early, when I say a certain time, right? And but now we have this little baby who is going to need to feed, and in my case, he would need to urinate and then change him, and then he can have, a good steady sleep for however long he's going to sleep. And I kind of had that figured out in my mind, like how long this takes. So it was like, okay, instead of going to bed at 8:00 at night, I'm going to feed. And then at 11:00, when he would probably wake up, he's going to feed. I'm going to change him. And then I'm going to go down.
Right.
And it's little stuff like that. I won't bore y'all with our schedule, but the point is we had to make these adjustments. And then when it was time for me to wake up in in the morning, I'm leaving stuff out because there was a 2 a.m. time as well. But by the time it's time for me to get up, just from my experience, it's like, okay, but I need to have worship and thus and so. And wait a minute, now the baby's crying because he wants us. And it's like, how do you manage the reality of your love and need to care for your child and the reality of your connection with God and the need to link with him?
Right.
And so I just begged the Lord to show me how, because there was no way I would have been able to figure it out.
Right.
Just no way.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's challenging, too, especially if, like in our case, I actually went back to work after 3 months, I think it was.
Yeah, it was just after 3 months.
Yeah. And it was challenging too because of the time that I had to leave home.
Yeah.
The time to get to work. And then the times that I got home. So having that personal time with the Lord, it was such a challenge. But I found a way I had to have my own personal time while I'm driving because after all, I was in the vehicle for what?
Almost 2 hours going.
2 hours going.
More than 2 coming.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And you had so much vying for your attention. Even at that point, there were times, because of the work that I did, I had to have a pager. And so that would go off at any time. It was just like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. But the Lord gave us the grace and the strength to make it through,
Yeah. Yes. And what we did, this is the thing, we had already, we were forecasting having a child. And one of the priorities was leaving the populated areas and living out in the country. And so we had already done that. And then, sometime later, a few years later, we conceived. And so, but that was only half of the equation because Simone and I had been going into work together. I would drive, for the most part, not 100% of the time, but for the most part, then I would drop her off, go do my work for however many hours I do work. And then she would get off a little later. Then I would go pick her up and we go together. And we're talking about, nearly 100 miles one way. But now she's going in, but I'm at home. And a whole lot of other stuff surrounding that. And so our priority was for him to not experience childcare, and no disrespect to anybody else. That was our decision, right? It was that we wanted him to be cared for by us in particular. And in my case, as much as I love mommy and she would have definitely come, I didn't even want it to be a grandparent thing. I wanted it to be the ones who had this little guy, and at a point we had to make another decision to say, all right, we already moved out of the populated area. We've already moved into the country parts, but now because of life circumstances, we have to make another drastic move. And that's what we did. Dropped everything after a year of planning and relocated. Completely, like off the chart, off the map, And but the thing about it is the context was our little guy and our family and how all of that worked together according to the paradigm that the Harris family set for ourselves.
Right.
So, there's a lot we could say. Maybe we'll need to do a part 2 on this particular program, but there's a lot that could be said. But the point is, whenever you have a child in your marital relationship, everything changes. And I'm not going to make it negative because a lot of people try to make it a negative thing. But everything does change and we do need to make adjustments. But the good thing is we don't make those adjustments in our own strength and we don't need to do them alone.
Amen.
And so I'm delighted that Simone and I were on the same page and Lord showed us how to do what we needed to do. And he will show you how to do it as well. So I hope you have a wonderful day or evening, and we will catch you on the rebound. Peace.
Bye. See ya.
There you have it, y'all. I hope you've enjoyed your time with us. Marriage is about mutual love and mutual respect, and it works for those willing to make it work. Real talk, Our spouses are treasured jewels given to us to make life better. And the sooner we learn to value one another will be the sooner we become the most phenomenal versions of ourselves we can be. Until next time, peace from Dave and the queen of my castle, Simone. We got love for you, baby.